welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be making something super fancy, and that is homemade caviar. We're going to make caviar by using salmon rolls. Caviar is fancy. It is one of the most expensive foods in the world. It is beloved by a bunch of famous celebrity chefs. Look at this creation that David Chang made. He serves his fried chicken with a buttload of caviar, and this costs $500 at his restaurant. First, let's talk about why caviar is so expensive. Well, like many other fancy things in this world, it takes a long time to make, and it is also very labor intensive. And I think you've definitely heard of this one: supply and demand. The price of caviar is determined by the species of the fish and the quality of the rolls. There are many different grades, just like steak, and the most expensive caviar comes from beluga sturgeon. The price of beluga caviar ranges from $75 to $135 per ounce, and sometimes even higher. Besides this type of caviar, there are actually also other types of caviar like white caviar, gold caviar, and red caviar, which is the ones that we're going to be making today. Red caviar comes from salmon and trout, which is a lot cheaper compared to black caviars. And if you look at this chart over here, they're actually the least expensive ones, and the price ranges from $2 to $15 per ounce. It is still very pricey if you were to get them at a high-end Japanese restaurants, or if you were to buy them like the ready-made kind that's like in a jar. I see salmon caviar a lot at Japanese grocery stores. This one right here is $3.12 per ounce, and over here is a pretty good quality one. This one is from Hokkaido, Japan. This is a 2-pound box which costs $5 per ounce, and if you want to go even higher end, we have this one right here, this is actually a trout caviar. They're a lot smaller compared to salmon caviar, and also the texture is a bit firmer. This one here is actually the caviar that we use at the restaurant that I work at. This one is at $13.75 per ounce. This little jar is worth $110. So yeah, that shows you, even though red caviar is not as expensive as black caviar, it can still damage your wallet quite a bit. But the good news is, if you could get your hands on some fresh salmon roll, making salmon caviar at home is actually as easy as 3 steps. It is fancy, and the most important thing is, it is budget friendly.
In a small sauce pot, combine a 1/4 cup of water, a 1/4 cup of mirin, a 1/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of sake or rice wine, a 1/4 teaspoon of bonito soup base powder, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. Bring the mixture to a boil and turn off the heat and set it aside to let it cool completely. I purchased this fresh salmon roll at my local Japanese grocery store. It is at $156 per ounce, a lot cheaper than the prepared ones. I've seen it a few times before, but it's definitely not an everyday item. Maybe it's a seasonal thing?
Just like the sturgeon caviar, salmon caviar's price is determined by the species of the salmon and the size of the roll, and also the quality. And in case you're wondering, the most expensive salmon species is king salmon, aka Chinook salmon. And the roll I have here, I'm not sure what type of salmon it is because it doesn't say it on the package, but I'm assuming based on the price, it is farm Atlantic salmon. It is the most common salmon that you see on the market, and it is also one of the most affordable kind of salmon.
Now for step 2, in a large bowl, pour in about 5 cups of warm water that's between 110 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Then sprinkle in 2 teaspoons of salt and stir until the salt is dissolved. Submerge the salmon roll into the warm salt water and start separating the eggs from the membrane. The salmon rolls are a little tougher than I imagined. They will pop if you apply too much pressure, but overall they're pretty easy to work with, so you don't have to be scared. Just swipe them with the palm of your hand to get them off. And when there's only a few eggs left on the membrane, just pass them through your fingers like this and let them fall into the water. Make sure to get every single one, no need to waste here. Pour them in a sieve and give them a quick rinse under clean water, then dump them back into the bowl and fill it up with water. You can see here that there are a lot of little pieces of membrane still attached to the eggs, so I'm just going to get rid of them. I mean, look at those. This is all the little pieces of membrane that I collected. You definitely don't want to be eating that. Not gonna lie, cleaning took a while. I now understand why it's so darn expensive, because it is labor intensive. Rinse them underwater a few more times, swish them around with your fingers, and let the roes sink to the bottom, and the remaining membrane that we miss will float to the top. And go ahead and drain that water to get rid of them. Now that they're clean, they're ready to be brined. Believe it or not, we have come to the final step. Put all the salmon rolls in a clean container, pour that brine over them, and squeeze in half a lemon to add a nice little citrus flavor. Pop the lid on and refrigerate it overnight. During the time they're sitting in the fridge, they'll absorb all the flavor from the soy. They'll be nice and salty but slightly sweet. Let's take a look at how we did here. Absolutely gorgeous. They plumped up so much, and they're now this deep orange color. Seriously, so beautiful. If you don't think this is fancy, then what is? There are many different ways to enjoy salmon caviar. They're nice and salty and slightly fatty at the same time. They pop in your mouth, so it adds a very interesting texture to whatever dish you're eating. Think of them as a condiment. You could put them on anything you want, like chicken nuggets. I really enjoy them over a bowl of steaming rice. I mean, look at that right there. That alone can be over $25 at a fancy Japanese restaurant. Just to give you some examples, here are a few things you could do with them.
That is how you could make and enjoy caviar at home. Not as fancy as the true sturgeon caviar, but still very, very tasty. If you like today's video, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment below. Tell us if you've ever tried caviar before. Do you like it? Or if you don't like it, why don't you like it? We're actually pretty close to 100 subscribers. If you could give us a little push that subscribe button, share it with your friends and family. And thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll see you back in the kitchen next time.